welcome back to Surviving the Untold. It is July 7th, 2026, and today's episode is called When Silence Hurts, starting the conversation of suicide and self-harm. So obviously a trigger warning of talks about suicide, self-harm, general mental health issues, so if that is a problem, I would recommend not watching this episode.
So today we're going to start the conversation with what comes to mind when you hear the words suicide and self-harm.
For me, it's just sadness. I was extremely depressed when I was a child, and I thought life was terrible and would never get better, and it did. And there have been a lot of great things that have happened that have made my life a joy. These two being prime examples. And knowing that so many people have to get through that to find their joy and happiness, and knowing that other people don't get through that, it just makes me sad knowing that I know that there's so much better out there and so many people don't.
It generally just makes me think of a large portion of my life, because when I was 8, I remember telling someone that I wanted to end my life, and they were like, that's not normal. I was like, oh. So from then on, I've known that I didn't want to be here. And then my first attempt at my own life was the day I turned 10. And then for a very long time after that day, my life just felt like borrowed time. I got to a point a few months ago where I felt like, about halfway through my 6-month stay at the hospital, I started to feel like, at least I'm glad I got to borrow it. And then after I got out, I was like, it's not borrowed time. It's just time that's been given to me. And then some things happened, and now it's kind of slipping back into that borrowed time narrative. And so most of my life has just been a constant play of the thought of wanting to end my life. So all I can really think of is, me being in mental hospitals so often, and the fact that that took such a prominent chunk of my life.
So when I think of suicide and self-harm, I think of someone struggling and them using the best coping skills in the worst manner to cope with them. So for me, it looks like overworking so I can underthink. It looks like shoving my feelings down so I don't have to process them. I think lots of things can be self-harm, and we don't give credit to what that really looks like. We imagine self-harm as only hurting yourself physically versus emotionally. And I would say that when suicide comes to mind, I think that it's just someone deciding that it's the end, that they don't have any more effort to put forth to continue. I think a lot of people confuse suicide with wanting attention, where it's not a lack of attention, it's deciding that the world is better off without you. And I think that's a huge difference and a huge misunderstanding in the world when someone's mentioning suicide or self-harm. So then why do you think these topics are so difficult?
I feel like it's a difficult topic to discuss with people you're close with, because, if you're the one bringing it up and if you're the one having the problem, it's, kind of taking on that responsibility of everyone always checking in on you and being like, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? And it's your responsibility to constantly say yes. Most of the time it feels like, even though, those people, most of them want you to say, exactly how you feel, but it's just constant feeling of needing to reassure them that you're fine. And I don't know, it's difficult. But if it's just a topic that people are bringing up in general, I think people don't like to talk about it because of the general stigma of mental health.
So I'm going to piggyback off of what you said. I think that you're absolutely right that it's a difficult conversation to be in when you are the person like admitting, "Hey, I'm having these issues." But I'd go a step further that they become difficult conversations because, generally speaking, the people you're admitting these issues to have played a part in why those issues exist. And so, how do you sit down and tell mom and dad, like, "Hey, things are going really hard for me. I'm really stressed out. I'm really overwhelmed. All these things are consuming me." When mom and dad are like, "Well, I pay the bills and I do this for you and I do that for you," instead of mom and dad maybe acknowledging that while they may have had good intentions, some of their intentions may not have gone over the way they want to. So for me specifically, I think that a lot of it is having to talk to my parents about what I was going through would have just meant it was somehow my fault. I was doing something wrong. It would have made it worse rather than my parents be able to acknowledge, like, "Hey, maybe we're not doing things the way that would help suit you and help you grow and help you be successful." Some parents aren't willing to take that accountability.
Yeah, I remember when I told my dad it was his fault. He was like, "Oh, you're gonna kill yourself? Oh, I'll kill myself." And then he went and threatened to do that.
I think people get so hung up on, like, "Oh, it's my fault. Oh, it's my fault. Oh, it's my fault." And I think that it's an interesting concept because when you talk about how somebody has affected your mental health or your emotional health, I feel like people automatically push back. They automatically get this whole, like, "Oh my gosh, why would you say that? How dare you put me in that position?" But if I were to say, like, "Oh, you walked by me and you stepped on my foot," they'd look at you and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry I stepped on your foot. I didn't mean to do that." Right. You can cause pain without intending to cause pain. And if you could apologize for the slight inconvenience of hurting someone physically, I don't understand why conceptually that you can't say, like, "Hey, I realize that I may have had an impact on your emotional health."
So I come from this from a different perspective. I have two thoughts on why it's difficult. First is, if I know for me, I've always found it very hard to emotionally relate to. I never got seriously suicidal. I've always wanted to uh, be alive and enjoy new things and find new things, even in my darkest times. So while I can intellectually understand it, I'm an outsider, and so it's really hard to have that conversation in a way that feels uh, genuine, because I can be like, "But things are so wonderful." That's not what they need to hear. And so it's just one of those things where it's a difficult conversation, because it's, while you can have empathy for the situation and their feelings that they're having, you can't put yourself in their spot in a realistic way. So that makes it really difficult for me, since I've never like and the other side of it I think makes it difficult for people to talk about is, unless you're talking to a therapist, most of the time that if you're going to talk about feelings that deep and personal and something that cuts so close to the core of you, you're going to be talking about it to the people who are most likely going to be hurt the most if you actually hurt yourself or commit suicide. And so that's an extra layer of just emotions involved there. And if you are at that point, I just can't imagine being like, "I don't want to be here," and then looking at somebody who cares about me and being like, and and so it's just a whole lot of awkwardness, I guess, from both sides. Um, and so I think, especially in a world where we all want to be that perfect family and everything to be happy-go-lucky, wonderful all the time, which isn't a realistic expectation of life. It just gets really difficult to dig down to something that is so dangerous. I mean, at this point, we're not talking about somebody who's sad or who's somebody who you might offend and they just might stop talking to you. And that's a whole different level.
So I feel like a lot of people have what I'm going to call a misconception that you spoke on. And it's this thought that, oh, we don't speak about it because we're afraid of hurting the people that we love, because that means that we're going to hurt them when we go. Like, generally speaking, if I'm telling you you're part of the reason why, I'm not telling you that so that you feel bad when I die. Like, that's not... I've never once considered suicide and had the thought of being, oh, I think they're all going to feel bad when I'm gone. Generally speaking, when I've gotten to that lowest point, it's because I figure that you guys wouldn't care that I'm gone, that it wouldn't have an effect on you that way. And so for me, it's this odd concept, because you're not the first person to say it, but a lot of times, like, those of us who've gone through suicide thoughts have to deal with the fact that it's, oh, but think about who you're going to hurt. Think about who you're leaving. All these people care. And, like, if I don't have enough on my plate to consider why my life is important, the last thing I'm worried about is how somebody else feels.
I think the take that Jason gave is slightly rooted in an ignorant position. Not like to be rude, it's just, like you said, you've never been severely suicidal. People try and, in a way, bring up, oh, well, you would hurt people if you go, in a way to, like, try and stop you, which I think, without realizing it, even if they are realizing it, these people are trying to guilt trip me into not ending my life, and it's like, oh, but think about who you would hurt. In my mind, when I feel like I want to kill myself, I'm not thinking, oh, they'll be sad when I'm thinking they'll get over it. People die. They'll be fine without me. They'll move on. And having that conversation of how I'm feeling about ending my life with someone, it's not that I want you to feel bad when I'm gone. I don't think anyone would feel bad when I'm gone in that kind of mental state. So,
I think, speaking from my position, oftentimes when I've been in that headspace, I am absolutely convinced the world would be better off without me here, which is why I'm okay with taking my own life. So then to have someone sit in front of me and tell me, oh, well, what about so-and-so who cares, and about so-and-so who loves you, and about so-and-so who's going to be hurt, none of those facts come across as true to me, because I genuinely believe that everyone would be better off without me here. I genuinely believe that I'm the cause of the issues in their life. I think we touched on it in the last episode that Jason says things like, oh, I'm so cursed. And for him, like, he talks about being cursed financially. But for someone like Busy and I think we hear it and we're like, oh, well, if his life is so cursed because we're here, he'd be much better off without us here. And that starts this whole spiral of, like, conversation in our head where for you it was a simple comment of, like, one core thing, and the rest of us was like, oh, well, you would have money if we weren't here. We'd have money if you didn't have to pay for this house. You'd have money if you didn't have to buy food. And so, like, we genuinely believe we'd solve problems for you if we weren't around. And so this concept that we're going to sit there and talk about then, like, oh, but I really love you and I really care about you. Right. We're not saying that you don't, but we can acknowledge how much better your life would be
if we weren't here. Like, my constant thought process for most of my life has been that all I do is end up hurting people, no matter who they are. If they're in my life, I end up hurting them. So a lot of the time when I get suicidal, it's, well, I mean, I've hurt so many people that they shouldn't miss me. And then after I'm gone, they'll realize that. And then they'll move on. And I think another thing is people that haven't experienced suicidal ideation and intent kind of, like, they think that it's a different kind of temporary problem than it is. They think that it's, oh, right now you want to kill yourself. And then they'll think that that's all you want to do for the next however long it takes you to not want to kill yourself. That's not how it works. Like, it for some people, it comes in waves of, like, I want to end my life, or I want to self-harm, or do this, and then, the next day they could be fine, and then the day after that it could be back again. For some people, it's a constant 24/7, all I want to do is be gone. And those two situations could happen to the same person over multiple different periods of time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that as you were describing it, I liken it to, in layman's terms, for those of you who haven't had that experience, imagine waking up one morning and you're just craving a certain food, and that's all you could think about all day long is, oh my god, I have to eat this, I have to eat this, I have to eat this. And you're so focused on it that that's all you could think about. Great. So some days I wake up and my brain just says, don't be here, don't be here, don't be here, don't be here. That's the craving. And then there's other days where I wake up and I'm having a good day. Things are fine. Something could happen. Here's that craving. Something else happens. The craving is gone. Like, it doesn't go away. I feel like if you've ever had your thoughts go to that place, they don't ever truly just go away. Like, there's something, they're in the back of your mind playing. And so a lot of the negative connotation with that is, yeah, you just constantly want to hurt yourself. You constantly want the attention. You constantly want to die. And it's not that. It's just that, like, our brains are wired to find a solution to a problem. And for us, that solution is, I'll just not be here.
If you struggle with it for a long enough time, for me, it just became, like, oh, I'm not, terribly dead set on killing myself, but also, I wouldn't be upset if I died, or, if something goes really bad, I can just kill myself. It's not always that inherent craving, that, like, constant, overwhelming thought of wanting to end my life. Sometimes it's just, if something bad happens, I can just kill myself and I won't have to deal with it. Or, I don't necessarily want to be alive, but I'm not going to stop trying to keep living. No, but bro.
Catching mice is hard.
Dead asleep.
So, as we have this conversation today, like, what are you hoping people take away from it?
For me, I think the biggest thing is if you are somebody who doesn't have a first-hand experience with it, spend a lot more time listening than talking. That's
Clock it.
this might be the quietest I'll ever be in one of these things, but sometimes, especially for people like me, like, I like to talk. I like to know things. I like to have input. And sometimes, poor Harley. That's your emotional support, Harley. It's okay. So, like, it's really easy for me to be like, oh, well, I did this and I did that and I did this to fix myself, so you should just do that. And I think that's the exact opposite of what you need to be doing. You just need to sit there and saying, I hear you. And it's like Viz said, like, it's coming from a point of ignorance. Like I said, I'm never going to understand it emotionally. The best I can hope for is to have an intellectual understanding and to try and be there and help anybody who is in that headspace feel a little bit better.
So I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, the way we're having this conversation. And for me, it's because it's going to seem like we're picking on Jason, and honestly, that's not the case. It's just that he does not come from that same mindset or background that the two of us come from. And so he will say things, and I will hear them and be like, no. And in this example, it was like, oh, well, I was able to fix my life. I'm not broken. There's nothing to fix. It's just who I am. And I'm like, I think I deal with, for me, solely speaking for me, I deal with feeling that I'm broken enough that someone telling me that I need to fix myself 13th reason.
Yeah, I constantly am in the headspace of I'm sure if it, I don't know if you've noticed it, but whenever I get upset, it's not always just a consistent. I don't know how to say this. Either way, I don't know how to put my thoughts into words, but whenever I do get upset, it's not, exactly because of one thing, and then my mind focuses on that one thing. It's a constant, what's wrong with me?
So I liken it to a Coke bottle. Imagine you have a bottle of soda, or pop, depending on where you're from. Please don't say pop.
Sody pop.
Or that.
Coke.
I know people. Sorry.
Imagine you have several ADHD people at a time. Imagine you have a bottle of soda and the lid's on tight, and you walk it up, and then you walk away. And then you come back later on and set it down, and you walk away. For me, I am that bottle of soda. You're going to keep shaking it over and over again, and it's the last time that it gets shaken, that top's going to blow. And so you're going to be like, why'd you get angry over that one thing? No, that just happened to be the last thing, not the one thing for me. For me, I want people to take away from conversations that suicide and self-harm aren't always the cry out for help that everyone likes to pretend that they are. It's really easy to say, like, oh, you're doing that because of this, and you're doing that because of that. And I don't feel like, unless you've walked that person's shoes, you don't get to decide, like, the reason why it's happening. I would also say, again, a lot of this is going to be speaking from my own experience, is that for me, in my head, it's a mathematical equation. And so for some of you guys, it's 2 + 2 = 4, and that makes sense. For us, it's, oh, this happened and this happened. I know the end solution. I know how to solve that problem. And so while it may not look like a solution to everybody, in my head, I can do that math really well.
I apologize. I'll see myself out.
No, you must stay.
Shucky darns.
So did you have something that you want them to take away?
Yes. But before I say that, I want to say something that you said. It's not a cry out for help like people think it is. We've mostly talked about suicide. I want to touch on self-harm. My bad, y'all. I have been struggling with the addiction of self-harm for about 6 years. And that's just what it is sometimes, is an addiction. Like, it's not, oh, I'm cutting myself because I hope that people will find it, or I'm not doing it because it's my way of asking for help. I'm not doing it because it's my way of dealing with something. It starts as my way of dealing with something, and then over time, it becomes a dependent addiction. So whenever something bad happens, that's my go-to, is self-harm. And I hid it for years. So people view self-harm in a very different light than what it actually is sometimes. Because sometimes it is for attention. And I think that if someone is being neglected to the point that they feel like they have to hurt themselves to get attention, then it's self-harm just the same as anyone else's. It's to deal with a problem that you're having. That's what self-harm always starts out as. And some people think of self-harm as an attempt at suicide, which sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not, and sometimes you accidentally kill yourself by self-harming. It can happen in so many different ways, and it comes in so many different forms, not just physical even. Sometimes it's just an emotional self-harm, like Jamisha said. An emotional self-harm I think people overlook, but you know, it can be overworking yourself, or it can be, you know, constantly blaming yourself for everything, or etc., etc. Oh my god, shut up. Sorry.
That's like the last thing you should do on a podcast. I'm just saying.
Would you rather me stop and check my phone? No. But self-harm, if you're seeing someone self-harm and you don't understand it, or you immediately think it's for attention, I would like you to ask them about why they're self-harming, and if this is the only way they're self-harming. Because, you know, different forms of physical self-harm happen too. It's not always just cutting. It can be burning yourself, or it can be pulling your hair out, or this, that, and the other. And people need to realize that there's so much more to know about self-harm than most people do. And I hope people, if they see someone struggling with it, and even if you don't, just try and find out more about it if you can, so that you can tell when someone's struggling with it. And, you know, if you see it happening, don't immediately assume, so ask that person, you know, why, and, you know, all of that. But I would like people to take away from this conversation in general, if you don't understand it, don't act like you do, I guess. Don't act like it's like, oh, well, I can logically understand why. Which, you know, that's also helpful if you logically understand why. But pointing that out can be harmful to certain people. And also, don't be like, well, I understand why. Ask them why. Ask them, you know, if there's any way you can help, which most of the time there really isn't. But don't try and know everything, because it's different for everyone. You know, if you see someone struggling, ask them about their personal experience with it. Don't overgeneralize, I guess.
I would also say, like any other marginalized group, there are going to be certain things we can say to each other that someone who hasn't experienced before probably shouldn't say. So, perfect example is working at a mental hospital. The girls knew that if I was there for 6 days in a row, it was like, Miss Jamisha, stop self-harming, go home, we'll miss you, we'll see you when you get back on the days you're supposed to be here. And it's just being able to, like, check the person that you're talking to. However, had my husband said that, it would have been drastically different. But it's the understanding that, like, hey, you know what I'm doing because you see it and you understand it, versus a judgment about how much you're working. And it comes off, again, it's just like the slightest bit of tone that sets off that differently. So, like, if I mentioned, you don't cut yourself, like, I could ask this, that, and business is not going to be like, yeah, Jamisha, what? Like, we've got that rapport that I can say that, and I know it's not going to sound spiraling. I would assume that if Jason was just like, yeah, do it, what the fuck are you telling me to cut myself for? I have accidentally told this to go kill himself. Completely. I swear to God, it was accidental. We were talking about him visiting his boyfriend, and I'm like, yeah, you can go up there, and I meant to say kill time, and I said, you can go up there and kill yourself. Kill time. You can go kill time. And
What
so,
is this, Romeo and Juliet?
For Viz and I, we often joke about it. We're like, yeah, you could go up there and kill yourself. And it's our joke. If Jason looked at it, one of us is like, you can go kill yourself.
Crickets.
Fucking crickets.
Crickets.
Then you might hear on the news that Jason's missing. And if that's the case, we don't know what happened.
Jason ever goes missing.
No goodbye Earls. No.
I want to watch My Name is Earl. If any of you, most of you are French for some reason.
And we love you.
We love you. I don't know why most of you are in France. Because we're in buttfuck Midwest fucking Kansas. We're in Southeast Kansas, but we're in Midwest America.
Let's just say banjos are not unknown in the area.
I probably shouldn't live here. Just
I'm not on the
right behind me.
I probably should.
I don't know what's worse in this area, being transgender or being a black female. I'm
also autistic and have very visible scarring.
We're a trifecta. We just love it here.
I'm also emo.
So then...
But wait, I don't know why all of you are French, but... Fuck, what was I gonna say?
Je m'appelle Jason.
Yeah, if he ever goes missing, don't worry about it, okay? It wasn't me and Jamisha, I can assure you that.
We would never.
Because we love him.
Yes.
So if you're all the way in France and you...
Send help!
Don't mind him, okay? Just shut up.
I just want to be a star of my own Netflix documentary.
You know, if you're all the way in France and you somehow hear that this random dude, Jason, that's like an old white guy, happened to go missing around southeast Kansas, just don't worry about it. Just continue to watch us.
I will tell you that out here in this area, Jason, with his last name, is a very popular name. There's probably a good chance it is somebody else.
And most of them will be old white dudes. So don't worry about it, because, you know, he could just have quit the podcast, you know?
Right. Untimely.
And you're in France!
I mean, if we come on here crying with lots of money, we were just really sad that he went missing. And that only way would make us feel better was to spend the insurance money. Because sometimes you need an extra boost to get over things.
Exactly. This is
Send help.
for legal reasons. This is all a joke. No, we're joking. Mostly. But also, why are you all in France?
Hey, if you guys need help in France, we're in America and we clearly need help. Like, if you...
B.R. Lafayette.
If you want to adopt a family and bring us over, we will...
I'll learn... I know how to introduce myself in French. I'll manage.
I will learn the culture. Okay, true story. So I was working at Walmart, and they hired this older gentleman who only spoke French. And in my head, I said, I know one thing in French. And he was like, what? And I said, voulez-vous coucher avec moi? C'est ça? And he's like, no. And then I'm retelling the story to HR, Jamisha, of all the things you could have said. Yeah, bonjour didn't come across my mind at the time. I wasn't thinking that. I just knew that. And I was so proud of myself. And he was like, I'm married.
I don't know French. What did you say?
Do you want to go to bed with me tonight? Which is a very Jamisha thing to say.
That's a very Jamisha thing to say in English. I just know how to introduce myself. And then when I watched Hamilton, I was like, hey, I know what he's saying.
Lafayette?
I can go bar for bar on that song. And I do.
Regularly.
This is how you have serious conversations. Again, it doesn't always have to be, oh my god, it's so daunting, it's so scary. I think that it could be a real conversation and still have sparks of life in it. So, with that being said, when did you realize that these struggles were affecting everyday people?
For me, my first real experience was when I was 18 or 19. A friend of a friend had shaved off her wrist, and I wound up taking her to the hospital and seeing all of it. And
what do you mean shaved off her wrist?
She shaved the skin off of her wrist from like there to there.
Oh god!
Like all the skin was gone. You saw all the veins, all the fatty tissue. It was.
That's enough description.
it was rough. It was rough.
True story. I could watch horror movies and people die all the time, and then you describe things like that, and icky.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of real life gore. I've seen some stuff like that just out and about. Twitter's an interesting place. And
So
I know interesting people.
I don't.
yeah. So
Innocent.
Yeah, she's the innocent one in the family.
Anywho, you saw someone shave their wrist off.
yeah. I took her to the hospital.
Hospital?
Yeah, the hospital.
A hospital?
Yeah. And so, since then I've been around people who have had varying degrees of issues. But that was a real just eye opener to me, because that was when I was just like, yeah, I don't even understand this, and like I said, I still I've been around it through various forms and individuals for 30 years at this point, and it's always different. It's always unique to that person, and every time I'm just like, but I don't understand. I just genuinely, it's just one of those things where, and you're just like, I just want to hug it out of you, and you just can't. You just
Definitely not.
Don't touch me.
even when we go to Walmart.
He was not happy to go to Walmart with me last night. He was embarrassed. He said this was a bad idea. I don't know why I keep coming with you to Walmart.
Why did you go to Walmart?
Did you not know we left last night?
Yes, I just asked why you went. I know you left and
We went to get buttermilk. Because I made cinnamon rolls. They look really good.
They taste really good. First time?
When I was 8, I was told that it was just me. And then I think I learned what suicide was and self-harm because I heard my dad made a joke about it. He didn't know I was listening. He didn't know I was there. I hope my dad never finds this. Because I don't even know if he remembers making the joke. But I've heard other people make it too. The whole sideways for attention, vertical for results. That's a horrible joke. Never ever make that joke. That's not a joke. That's fucking horrible. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I, with my unrestricted internet access, went and, was like, that's how I found out what suicide was and that there was a word for it. And that I wasn't the only one. And I was like, dang, everyone else, not everyone else, but other people are feeling like this too. At least it's not just me.
So, I was as young as 7 when I wrote my first note about wanting to kill myself. I remember it very vividly. My family is really big into bowling, and we would go every Saturday to the bowling alley. We were part of bowling leagues, and while I cannot tell you for the life of me what triggered the event, I just know that I wrote a note saying that I wanted to kill myself, that I was upset and I was sad, and I put the note on my chair. Somebody found it. They told my grandmother about it. My grandmother was my world then. And I remember her taking me in the bathroom and just kind of shaking me. We don't write that. We don't say things like that. And that was my experience with realizing that people don't understand someone who's having that type of thought. Nothing like having your favorite person look you dead in the face and it's like, we just don't do that. Well, I did, because I'm feeling that way. But thanks.
Yeah, my grandma didn't take it well. I hope none of my family. Because they're all going to deny it or they don't remember it. So.
Which is why they should watch it even more.
I don't like my family. If my grandma
Not
sees...
me. He loves me.
Oh, no, I love Jamisha. And I love Harley.
Man, Harley, I just got thrown under a bus and backed up over it.
My bad, guys. No, Grandma, if you're seeing this, just remember that when I disowned you, that was for real. That's still in effect.
Don't call me, I'll call you.
Yeah, no. But when, was found out that I wanted to kill myself, it was, oh, that's a sin. And I was forced into religion I was raised in an atheist household from birth to 4-ish. Then immediately got dumped into my grandma's house. Hardcore Catholic. Like, we are very well known in the church, or at least we were. I don't know. I very much assume we still are, because we were the only people, other than the people that worked at the church, that were allowed to just casually take the parish hall and do something in it. Like, we still have, I assume, our family Thanksgivings and events there sometimes. It's very hardcore Catholic, and she was like, that's a sin, and you'll go to hell, and it overrides every sin because it's your final sin, so you can't repent because you're already going to be in hell. And it was just I didn't appreciate that. I was very terrified of God for a very long amount of time in my life. I'm not anymore. I mean, the guy hates me already if he's real. I'm not going to judge anyone for being religious. That's not my business. But don't force it down people's throats, please.
That's so interesting because I've heard the same thing. So my grandmother was religious, and it was very much a church every Sunday, twice Sundays, every Wednesday, every Friday, prayer meeting Tuesday, like whatever it was, that one was at church. And so we grew up in church. Like I remember it being a really big deal when I was born, or I've heard stories that it was a really big deal that when I was born, my mom was kind of living with my dad at the time at his place with his parents, and it was a sin that, you know, she was living that way. And so for that reason, like my mom moved back to my grandmother's, meaning that I moved back to my grandmother's, because of the sin of living together. But I've also heard, like, taking your life is the ultimate sin. Thanks?
Yeah, no, I think it's viewed as the ultimate sin by some people because it's the final sin and you can't repent for it because you died.
And I get that. Like, that makes sense in my head. I just don't know if they have ever processed that trying to scare someone into saving their life
also
doesn't work.
The Bible emphasizes, actually, that you shouldn't try and... This is kind of an off-topic tangent, but... for all the religious people out there, the Bible emphasizes in many different religions that you should not try and scare or force someone into being religious because then their following of whatever deity is not truly, like, rooted within their heart and their full faith and belief in this deity. It's, you know, they've been scared into it or they've been forced into it, and then it's not truly being a part of that religion. It's
like when you tell your kid, say sorry. Say sorry. I'll say it, but it means nothing.
Yeah, like...
It reminds me of the old 80s program where it's Scared Straight, where they would, like, take kids and try and scare them. And
we watch that all the time.
Oh, it's freaking hilarious because the end result was that the kids actually wound up getting educated on how to be better criminals. So instead of discouraging the activity, it actually wound up encouraging it, because that is not how you go about changing people.
Scared Straight was... Sorry, I don't know why my teeth just whistled. Scared Straight, we watched that. Like, while we were in the hospital, we watched that. We watched 60 Days In. We watched Love After Lockup. And we watched The Rookie. For some reason, we watched body cam footage at one point. I don't know why everyone was so obsessed with watching, like, cop and jail shows. Because 99% of us, and all of the people that wanted to watch it, were like, have been in trouble with the law before.
They just want to see how accurate it is.
I mean, it's all decently accurate.
So then, what would you say are some of the misconceptions about self-harm and suicide?
I will bow to you two on this question.
Good idea. I think that people mix the two up and make them an interchangeable thing sometimes. Like, oh, if you're self-harming, you want to kill yourself. That's not necessarily true. If you're suicidal, you want to self-harm. That's also not necessarily true in the aspect of wanting to hurt yourself in the manner of not dying at the end of the action. Because suicide is, the ultimate self-harm.
It's the forever.
Sorry. But people mix them up, and people will say that, oh, if you're cutting yourself, then you're doing it to kill yourself. That's not true. 99% of the time, that's not true at all. And it's a common misconception that it's because of something happening. People be like, oh, well, you're faking because you have a good family, or you have a good life. No, it's a chemical imbalance in most people's brains. Whether it's developed or not, most of the time people are just born with a chemical imbalance in their brain where their brain doesn't release the good jelly. You don't get serotonin, dopamine, endorphins as much. Self-harm produces endorphins in your brain. And there are other healthy alternatives, but also it's, kind of that instant gratification. Whatever. But people will think that it has to be caused by something. That's not true. And people will think that you have to have a reason. That's not true. People think that if you're doing one, it must mean the other. And people make a lot of assumptions, and I think people need to stop making assumptions whenever they hear that someone is suicidal or they're self-harming. I think they need to not immediately try to jump to a conclusion to justify or understand why. I think they need to ask the person why, and if the person doesn't want to tell you, then back the fuck off. Drop it. I mean, if someone's like, I'm gonna kill myself, and you're like, why? And they're like, I don't want to tell you. Obviously, don't just be like, well, I did what I could. Don't try and get them help. But also, you can't force them to be helped. You can force them into getting help. It doesn't always work. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what suicide and self-harm actually are. And I think people need to focus not on what they see on surface level, but they need to focus on, not what they hear or what the studies say, but what those people are actually feeling from their account.
I would say that I want people to get rid of the misconception that it's all attention-seeking behavior. Again, a lot of people who self-harm actually hide it, so attention-seeking where? Those of us who have attempted suicide didn't tell anybody about it. We were found. So, again, not attention-seeking. That it's an easy way out.
My dad always told me suicide is the coward's way out. In a weird way, this is going to sound so bad. I'm not saying that statement is helpful, because it's harmful. Very, very harmful. Don't agree with that statement whatsoever. But whenever I was suicidal because of low self-esteem, I would be like, well, it's the coward's way out. And then I would be like, well, I'm not a coward, so I can't afford to do that.
Yeah,
a weird way of making my trauma help me.
My last one is that it's done to hurt others. I would be rich if I received just a penny for every time I've heard someone assume that someone is... You're just trying to hurt your family. You're just trying to hurt your parents. Your life wasn't that bad. You don't know what my life looks like. We put on so many masks when we walk out that door. Day to day. Some of your happiest people are unhappy. I mean, let's just go off of the most interesting form of it. Robin Williams did movies. Mrs. Doubtfire. You would have thought that this man had the bestest of best lives. And look what happened. Like, you can't tell by looking at somebody what they're thinking, what they're feeling, how they're moving. And so for this concept to be like, oh, you must be doing it to hurt others. I don't give two shits about you.
And sometimes people would be like, sometimes people would turn that statement into you intending to harm others because you don't care about them. That's not true.
I think that it's odd. Not even odd. It's fucking stupid that in someone's time of need of, hey Viz, I'm thinking about myself. Think about everybody else's feelings. Look at everybody else's feelings. I told you, my mental health, my mental state is bad enough that I think I should not exist anymore, and your thought process is to regurgitate to me why everybody else's feelings matter more. Gee, I wonder why I'm here.
People will see someone intending to end their life or feeling like they want to end their life, and like when they say, oh, but think of other people, they don't see it as I'm saying everyone else matters more. What the fuck is wrong with my voice?
Puberty.
My balls dropped, Jason. They've been dropped. Anyway, people will say that in means to help, but most of the people that are on the receiving end of that statement view it as you're telling me everyone else's feelings matter enough that people that are on the receiving end of the statement of, oh, but think about everyone else, so everyone else matters more than me. That's immediately what most people that I've spoken to view in that statement. Oh, well, but everyone else would be sad. Okay, and I'm sad. I'm sad enough to want to kill myself, but I have to worry about everyone else being sad. I want to kill myself because I'm constantly worrying about everyone else. And you're telling me to worry about everyone else. Oh no, don't worry about your problems. Because imagine how those problems are affecting others. That's a harmful statement. Even if you don't fully understand that, just take it at face value of how I'm saying it. It's a harmful statement. No matter your intentions behind it. Oh, so I've had the issue of consistently feeling drained because all I do is I take care of everyone else. All I do is, worry about everyone else and constantly have to keep that responsibility of keeping people alive. But when I don't want to be alive, I have to worry about keeping everyone else alive.
Funny how that works. So we know that we're reaching a really long time in this podcast. So this isn't going to be a one-off conversation. It's probably going to be multiple parts. But going with that, so what signs do you wish people recognized more? I think also for this, given that we are two people who are more experienced than the other, I'd like to hear some questions from Jason on what he thinks should be done. So I think this is a really important question of how do you recognize when someone's in that headspace?
I'm gonna give my thoughts on that. I think people need to start realizing signs as simple as that person is struggling with their hygiene. It's hard to wake up every day and want to end it and think, let me take care of myself. I think people need to realize the signs of giving a bunch of your stuff away. especially things you care about or things that you often see me with. It's if you start giving your stuff away, they're preparing. If you start to see someone just get really tired, not even in a physical manner, just a mental exhaustion that you can tell there's something wrong. You have to also realize that different people's signs look way different. And whenever you do realize those signs, most of the time the person that you're confronting about said signs is going to deny it. It's different for everyone. Someone could have the sign of not taking care of their hygiene. Someone could have the sign of being unnaturally focused on their hygiene. Depending on the person, it can be just a general change in manner that seems slight enough that you could miss it or it could be dismissed. There's a change in someone that you can see. It's a lot of the time, if someone's struggling, they're going to change in multiple different manners, and it's that catching it and questioning what could possibly be the reason that someone is having this change in routine, or this struggle to keep a routine, or this inherent need to stick so strictly to a routine.
Don't judge me.
Uh-huh.
My thought on that aligns a lot with what Busy was saying, that people act differently when their mood changes. And sometimes, as Biz said, they're like night and day changes. And then sometimes they're so minute. But if you really know the person that you're with, I think that makes a huge difference. So, I'll just give myself as an example. I am a get up, make my bed, take a shower, come out, clean the kitchen. I have a routine. The days that I'm like, I'm just going to lay in my clothes all day long. No, you're not, because that's not something you do. The day that I walk out of the house in PJs, something's wrong. I don't wear PJs outside of my house. I won't wear PJs outside of my house. So for me, it could be something simple like Mexican food doesn't sound good.
Jamisha, what's wrong?
Are you sick?
Yeah, I think I might give someone a couple of my pets. Jamisha, what's wrong?
Yeah, so if I ever... Either I really like you and I'm trying to help your mental health with what helps me, or there's something severely wrong. So the day that I call you, if you ever see me online doing a podcast and I'm saying, guys, in today's podcast, I have a guest and it's someone we don't know. And they are asking me about all my pens that I'm giving away to them. Call for help.
Call for help.
Call for help. Whoever it is. Superman, Batman, 911. I don't know what the number is in France, but whatever it is, call for backup. No, she needs.
And also, Jamisha does not leave the house in her PJs. She doesn't like to sit in her PJs in the day, in general.
I get out of bed, take a shower, and put on more PJs to lounge around the house.
Yes. But me personally, I wear pajama pants out in public just because I want to. So it's that, people are different. If I start to get into a point where I, my depression fashion, I guess, as a way of putting it, it's the lack of personality in my outfits.
See, I would go a step further. Okay, so it's really interesting in the sense that the days that I give zero shits about how I look, you should worry. And then there's the days that this is I did my makeup to sit on the couch. So are we going to talk about it? What do you mean? You did your makeup to sit on the couch. We don't have any plans to go anywhere. When are we going to talk about it? But that again, that's knowing your audience. Just like I know if Viz is like, yeah, I'm gonna hang out here all day. Okay. And there's been times like I've come home from work and be like, why are you? You know you're in the living room, right? Yes. Like where people conjugate. Yes. And again, it's just based off of his response lets me know, okay, he's out here because he wants to spend time with family. And there's times it's just like, yeah, it was a bad idea to stay in my room. Okay, so it's one of those days that I need to, again, it doesn't mean he's going to go to his room and hurt himself, but he's saying to me, hey, there's enough stuff weighing down my mental health. It was better for me to be out here.
Laying on the floor in the living room on my phone, I'm just out here. If I'm laying on the floor in the living room with nothing and I'm just thinking, something wrong. And like she said, if I put on a fantastic outfit and I do my makeup all nice and I spend a lot of time on it just to sit on the couch all day, something's wrong. If I am offered to go to Walmart and I don't like change or put on makeup or adjust how I look, something's wrong.
So Jason has telltales too. Like when we laugh about them because they're hilarious to us. So we were redoing Viz's room, and Jason was in there painting. And I don't remember why the conversation came up, but we were like, "Jason's not okay." And when we asked Jason, Jason's like, "What are you talking about? Did you poop today?" No, I haven't had to poop. I'm sorry.
You haven't made a dad joke?
And you haven't made a dad like. Well, I'm just not right. Well, I'm just tired. Like again, we know when something's off with Jason. Because we're like, you have a routine, bro. If you smell food, you shit.
I have to share why can't we share a bathroom, Jamisha?
I don't want anyone in my bedroom.
Listen, I have an efficient digestive
like an
system.
Outhouse?
No.
Get you a bucket. You can just go out to the field.
So you can get a bucket and use it and then just put it underneath your window.
Oh no, then you're going underneath the soil. Outside my window. So I can grow a pretty...
This is where Nala's buried. Why is it freshly dug up? We just want to say our goodbyes one more time.
No, but, there's, like... Someone like Jamisha, if she goes out in her PJs, be concerned. But with me, if I'm wasting a fantastic outfit on a boring day, something's wrong. But if I'm going outside to go somewhere and I haven't coordinated an outfit that is, like, perfectly coordinated and then I have my accessories, if I go out and I'm just wearing, like, a hoodie or a sweater and a t-shirt and some pajama pants, no accessory, why are you staring at them?
Am I staring at what?
I'm
blind.
You can't make eye contact with them. I'm sorry, I've been watching him slowly gravitate towards you guys. What the fuck? Anyway,
He's very sensitive.
So,
Don't get too close.
What are ways someone might silently ask for help?
Apparently by not pooping.
If you're someone like Jason. That's the thing. It's different for everyone. Jamisha's way of not asking for help, but depicting that she's not okay, even though she doesn't mean to. What do you want to eat? Cereal. Not allowed. Not allowed.
It's my comfort food, and I put something in my belly and it didn't cost me a lot of time.
Me personally, my way of, asking for help, I tend to advocate for myself in a very specific and direct way. If I need help, I go to you and I ask for help. Because I couldn't help myself, so now I need. That's like my last resort is to go to someone. If I'm directly going up to you and saying, hey, I need help. That's when things are bad.
I've learned that when people's answers get shorter, that's usually a sign that something's wrong. Not that there are times that people just like, oh, I'm fine because I'm busy, but like when you are actively trying to have a conversation with somebody and it's just yes, no, okay, sure, then you're just like, you're trying to get rid of me for a reason. What is the reason? And that's when it's your job to be like, okay, did I do something to upset you? Or is there, like, that's when you need to dig in and get more information. Hey, I'm not trying to bother you. You seem really annoyed. Is there something that I did? Is there something I can do?
White boy actually noticed recently that I was being less responsive. I was still responding to him. I just, like, he pointed out, like, oh, I just wanted to check because you haven't been making up random words in a sentence. Because, like, I hadn't used loker genuinely in a long time.
I think that if I ever go to Walmart with Biz and I act
Normal.
perfectly normal, Biz would be like, so what the fuck is
If
wrong
she
with
goes into the enter door, we're screwed. If she walks out the exit door, we're fucked.
you? It's a thing. I don't know why. I just can't do it.
You're a rebel with a cause.
If I go to park my car in the area that I don't typically park my car in, if I start doing things out of any order that I
If
typically
that
do
car
them,
does not honk as she's walking away,
if I don't pause, waiting for the car to honk as we're walking away,
something's wrong. But, like, he had pointed out, like, oh yeah, no, like, you're just giving the generic responses. There's no, like, stupid nickname at the end, and there's no random picture of Lin-Manuel Miranda. I haven't seen a picture of a horse looking at me sideways in a minute. Are you okay? 'Cause I send stupid pictures and stickers. It's great. There's a lot of fruits with faces involved.
So, Jason, do you think that there's a way that you would be able to pick up on signs?
For me, it's less about picking up on the signs than it is
That was my
knowing,
If you heard that, that was my knee.
knowing how to break through the barrier. Because, like, you see the signs and you say, "Hey, what's going on?" Nothing. And then you gotta figure out how to get through, or like sometimes it's just being patient. But yeah, a lot of times it's just
With me, don't ever. If I'm sad and you can tell I'm sad, don't be patient. If I'm angry,
it's okay. It's just a bug.
you're just a bug. Thanks. Ew, I hate it. Go away.
I'm gonna die.
Nova, get it. Anyway, you get a mouse but not a bug?
What the heck?
Bro!
Listen. Sometimes
Linda.
stuff pops up, Linda.
Anyway, this episode's really long. If you made it this far, thank you, France. Shout out to the French.
We are going to wrap it up soon. I do have one more question before we shut down for the night. How can families create an environment where it's safe to talk?
Doing what we do, like, in the manner of, oh, it's a serious conversation, but we're being silly, goofy, laughing. Not necessarily go into it and try and make it not serious, but it's a serious conversation, but you can also, like, you know, make the jokes about it if you're the right person and at the right time. And, you know, when I had a scare with one of my friends, I'm not going to say names or anything, and I'm not going to give specifics, but I had a friend that had made an attempt, and they hadn't responded to me, and Jamisha came in. That was a serious conversation that, you know, we had a couple laughs in it, just, like, in a nervous kind of way, but, you know, conversations like we have out here, and conversations where we're trying to work things out, it can get to a point where, you know, the end of the conversation, we're all laughing, you know, and that's a good way to, you know, do it with certain people and in certain situations.
I can see that he was visibly upset. And how do you have a conversation with your kid when there isn't a right thing to say? And so for me, it's like I walk into his room and I see that he's crying. I'm not going to ask him why, because most people are like, are you okay? He's crying. Please don't ask somebody if they're okay when you see them visibly upset or crying.
Yeah,
That's his way to set me off, is to be like, are you okay? Bro, do I look okay? You're asking because you know I'm not okay. Anyways, I digress, which is also what I said in my own podcast. I sat there, and I think Viz knew that, like, he's upset, but he could tell that I was. So, and how do you know that? I'm going to pick this random thing up and I'm going to clean it. Why did I just move that? I didn't even move it to anywhere that I was helpful.
She organized my 2-chip bags. She moved my paper towels.
That was my way of having control over the situation. But then it was also me sitting there saying, like, hey, I know you're having a hard time. I know that what is going on is upsetting. I also know there are no words to make that better. Because there's nothing more annoying in that situation to go in and be like, it's all going to be okay. You'll work through it. You'll get through it. The hope is, yes, that I will. We don't know that.
Yeah. No.
There's no guarantee to that.
And it was really bad. It's one of my,
And so for me,
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, for me, what it was is I needed some way to convey to him that I cared and I was there without being a bully about it, without being pushy. So it was a, hey, do you want me to stay in the room with you? And I kind of and I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give you the space to process your feelings. What I'm also going to do is, every now and again, I'm going to pop up in the room just to check on you. If you need me, I'm in the living room. If for any reason your thoughts start to get really unhealthy, that's when I need you to come talk to me. And then I set the precedent there. Just because you come and say, like, hey, I'm having unsafe thoughts, doesn't mean we get in the car and go to the hospital. If my kid thinks that every time he comes and tells me, hey, this is what I'm thinking, I'm going to rush him to the hospital, he's not going to share it with me. There is nothing worse than having someone constantly afraid that if I tell you, things are going to get worse for me.
And it was, that day was a lot. But that day was a lot, and I, hardly. I spent a lot of that day crying. And there was nothing it wasn't always something that had brought it on that made me think of that friend. It was just out of nowhere, I would be like, my best friend is probably dead and never coming back. And it got to a point that it got later in the day, and Janisha came in to check on me, and she was like, still no news. I was like, yeah, no. And then I just cried for a hot second.
And again, I think that's knowing so on any given day, Viz can tell you how I am with physical touch. I sit on my couch, and someone has to sit at the opposite end of it if they're sitting with me. That's not how my brain is wired. When I walked in, he's bawling, and I put my arms out, and he just kind of fell into me. Okay, this is where I know that it's needed. But it's also do you need a walk? Again, he didn't say anything. It was just, I know what helps him. Do you need a walk? Okay, great, go get your shoes on. And that's me turning to my husband and saying, get your shoes on as well, take him for a walk. Because while, yes, he can be trusted to go on a walk by himself, in that mindset, he's already upset. Why would you send somebody out there by themselves? And again, that doesn't mean that they're going to talk. And I think it's recognizing that sometimes you just have to do the unspoken thing that's needed. So it doesn't always look like, I'm going to talk about everything and we're going to talk about all your feelings. Sometimes it looks like hey, so I don't have anything that's going to make this better. I'm here if you need me. Jason used to do something really well that I wish he would bring back. When I was upset about something, it was do you want me to listen or do you want me to help? With the difference being, listen means I just need you to hear what I'm saying. I don't want you to fix my problem. Just hear my problem. And helping being like, hey, when I'm done venting, help me come up with a solution.
Come here, knucklehead.
Yeah, no, this is already going on way too long of an episode. I apologize. But no, there's a lot of different signs for different people. Don't see something that everyone says is a sign and immediately take it as a sign. Question what could be the possible reason. Question, if that person is exhibiting other telltale signs and such. Don't always assume, first thing.
So I think that this is just going to be part one. The reason why the title of this podcast is, or the title of this episode is, When Silent Hurts, Starting the Conversation. These are not one and done conversations. They're not quick and easy conversations. These conversations they should never have an end. Like, we should always be processing this stuff. We should always be processing these conversations. And so for us, I think we are going to allow this all to sink in, what we've discussed so far. And then on our podcast that we post next time, it'll be a part 2 where we discuss supporting someone, family reflection, hope and healing, and we'll get into more of the tough things that way. And then I think I'd like a point where if you have questions, please post them and we'll answer them. But also that we'll give Jason time to kind of process everything we've said tonight and then come back to the table with questions that he may have. So in short, does anybody have anything to say before we wrap it up?
No. Harley, what do you think of this?
No, just don't be afraid to just listen or be there, even if you're not saying the right, like Jamisha's a billion times better in these situations than I am. But sometimes you just being there is better, it helps. You don't have to be perfect.
So I'd like to say that if someone who is listening tonight is struggling and believes they're completely alone, I want you to hear that there are people out there who feel just like you. There are people out there who think just like you. You are not alone in this. There's nothing wrong with you. We all have things that we're working through, we're working on. And if you ever need to talk, you've got 3 people who are willing to listen and willing to discuss it with you. No judgment. We're just here. We recognize that the best thing you could ever do for somebody is to sit and listen. And we're willing to be that for you guys. So we're going to sign off and say bye and see you later. And we'll see you for part 2 next time.
Bye-bye, folks.